Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Money with Alpha. I've got a lovely guest today, Michelle Saunderson from Those Two Sisters. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. I know we are winging this one, which I absolutely love, and I think your audience is going to love as well.
Yeah, someone else connected us. I had actually already met Michelle's sister,
Hmm.
which we can go into at another event last year. So I was familiar with those two sisters, but then we were just going to have a pre-chat about, talking about the podcast, but we were like, you know what, let's just hit record and go for it. So let's
Let's do
let's
it.
take this conversation where it needs to go.
Yes,
So, in your own words, then, how about a little bit of an intro, who you are, how you ended up working with your sister, because it is unusual,
it
and
is.
then what you do, how you do it. So, just a little bit of an overview of you and your world.
Yeah, awesome. So thanks for having me, firstly. As you said, our company name is Those Two Sisters, and there's me, Michelle, and my sister Diane McKendrick. And together we form Those Two Sisters. We're actual sisters, which a few people get a little confused with because we don't actually look alike. She's got really dark hair and olive skin, and I'm fair, and our personalities are very different as well, which works really well in our company. What do we do? It's very hard sometimes to explain, and it's been a little thing that's been going on for many years in our company. But we love to empower business women mostly, and our tagline is to cut the crap, to do the thing, and be the woman that you're born to be. So basically, get past your fears, past all your BS, because we see the magic in every woman, right? And we just love holding space for women to just shine like they're meant to shine, and then get their own magic out into the world. At the moment, our theme, what we're really passionate at the moment is, and it'll align with your podcast as well, is the rich lady revolution.
Mhm.
So just really allowing women to be rich. And it's not just about money. That is very important, as you know, but all areas of our life.
Yes.
So, and making what we love to teach people is how to make meaningful money. Like instead of money that's just money for the sake of it, it's like fulfilling our values.
Yes.
And yeah, the way we do that is run retreats
Mhm.
for women. We're on a 20 something retreat at the moment. So we love running retreats. That's where the big change happens.
Yeah.
But for those not ready for retreats, we also do like online programs. So we've got the Rich Lady Revolution, which is our online program. And then our top end is the Queen's Club, which is
Okay.
our high touch point one-on-one with our ladies. So yeah, we just absolutely love what we're doing. My backstory, just really quickly, is I was a police officer for 23 years. I'm not sure if
Mhm.
you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so I was a sergeant in the police for 23 years, and I ended up choosing not to get the vaccination. I'm not an anti-vax or anything, but I didn't get it, and so I ended up getting the sack. Like I literally got terminated. Yeah, crazy story. So I'm a single mum, two little kids,
Yeah.
and yeah, I had to make it work. And I was already part-time in the business,
Yeah.
so I was like, right, I'm all in. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah, love
incredibly
it.
brave, especially when you're in that frontline space where there was
Mm.
so much pressure. And
Oh gosh, yeah,
I didn't object to necessarily the existence of the vax, and yeah,
yeah,
we're
same.
fully vaxxed. My daughter is not
Yep,
anti at all, but yes,
yep.
I had issues with how it was presented and
Yes.
enforced.
How
So
it
I'm
went
glad,
out. And
yeah,
yeah, and I'm really proud of myself, but
yeah,
also completely trust. I'm very, what people call woo woo. I have a very strong spiritual background, not really background, I just very intuitive. And
yes,
as times passed, I've just noticed when I tap into my intuition how strong it is and I can actually channel. And then
yeah,
I found out accidentally that I could do energy healings as well. So that all
oh,
came into the mix. So
yeah,
it's so bizarre because I'm like you, I'm very structured and process driven. I
yeah,
love, that's what I used to do on the police. They'd pull me into really busy offices and say, sort of pretty much fix it. And I'd have,
yeah,
SOPs written and everyone knew what they were doing. And I love that. But
yeah,
I also have this other side to me that's very intuitive and very spiritual. And so it
yeah.
works really well
You talk my
together.
language.
Yeah, I can see by your
Yeah,
face.
I'm like I both. I've got the crystals. I've got my little this is
Yes.
most people have stress balls. I have one of these
Oh,
crystal
wow. The chakras.
pyramids, and I literally fiddle with it
Oh, I
if
love
I
that.
need to. So yeah, I don't use the stress
Yeah,
ball.
I've got little crystals under the computer and
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
cards are up there. I use my cards when I coach as well. I
Yes.
just get
Yeah.
messages like pull a card and oh my God, always spot on.
Spot
Just
on. Yeah. Oh,
ridiculously
that's
spot on.
fantastic. Oh, I love this.
Yes.
Exciting. All these
Yes.
commonalities.
Yes.
So how did those two sisters come about in the
Oh,
first?
it's been a bit of a journey. Diane being the younger sister, she
Mhm.
led the way. She was an ex-athlete. We
Mhm.
call jokingly called retired but couch potato. So her saying is she loves to make money while she sits on the couch.
Yeah. She
She's
doesn't look
very
like she sits on the
I
couch.
was about to say she does not sit on the couch, but we use that term for and doing something you love. So like yeah, she's out water skiing, so she's anchored into her belief system that when she's out water skiing or out in the sun in nature, money, big amounts of money is dropping into her account, and it's happened over and over and over again. We went
Yeah.
over to Tony Robbins, went to Florida for a date with
Oh,
Destiny.
nice.
Yeah, it was amazing, and we didn't have many breaks. I think there was one official break in the 6 days, and I was lying
Yeah.
out in the sun in Florida
Yeah.
looking at the palm trees like this is the deal.
Yeah.
And my phone binged and it was our Celebrate channel and it's like 3,300, you've sold a retreat. And I was like, what? Because usually I know about retreats, people usually talk to us. I was like, okay.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay, Diane must be
Amazing.
doing something inside. Next minute, bang, 3,300, you sold another retreat.
Yeah.
So I'm lying in the sun, $6,600 later. She's in
Yeah.
there and just two Americans have bought a retreat and flew over to our retreat and then flew back and now is one of our
Wow.
high-end clients. So
Yeah.
that's what meaningful money is to me and making it
Yeah.
easy. I
Yeah.
got off track there. How we became, oh yeah, so she leads the way basically.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what was, because I know there's quite a story of Diane's as well. So, and you've
Yes.
shared some of yours. How did you, because I think a lot of people
Going
get
together.
stuck in their businesses when they first start. How do you actually figure out what is the right offer to
Yeah.
kind of share and how to put that together? How did that come about? Because you share what you do at retreats, and then you've got, there's a phased, and there'll be entry levels even before that, and then
Yes. Yes.
offers beyond that. How did you come up with that service suite?
So it is literally a work in progress. And
Yeah.
I would say any business person, women, men, whatever out there you just need to trust that your business grows with you. Like we started off together doing, or she started Mums and Bubs personal training.
Yeah.
And I saw her do it as she had her child, and then I had mine, and I helped her, and I was like, I could do this. So
Yeah.
I got my cert for. Then we
Yeah.
got into essential oils,
Uh-huh.
and that put us in the spiritual circle. And
Yes.
then it just evolved over time. And then she did a coaching course and
Yes.
then hypnosis. And then I was helping the structure of a business. I didn't want a
Yeah.
bar of anything else. And then I
Yeah.
started to come in. She started running retreats. I was logistics. So I
Yeah.
was literally just doing, presenting a little. And then we just went, what are we crazy? We both got skills. Why are we
Yeah.
doing this? So we decided we had some very good skills. And
Yeah.
how we came up with our offerings, we invested in some coaches in our time. I think it's probably the biggest thing I'd say to people.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do it by yourself,
Yeah.
but having that extra set of eyes
Yes.
can really help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still follow our first business coach's advice sometimes, and I've had
Yeah.
other coaches since with different
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how pretty
Yeah.
much.
And I love that you say that too, because I hear that the saying a lot, oh, don't throw spaghetti at the wall. I was like, well, to a certain extent, you kind of have to.
Yes,
No
that's
one
what Diane
comes,
does.
yeah, it's not like you come out of the womb knowing how to walk or run. We
No,
all have to learn, and
yeah.
these all overnight successes have taken a lot
Oh God,
longer
yeah.
than overnight. And you do have to try things because even as a person, we also are not all like born business people either.
Mhm.
And even in the type of business that we want will grow and evolve, as you say, as we grow and evolve, just as our money needs change. The amount of money I needed to survive in my 20s is very different to in my 30s and then now also in my 40s. And it kind of swings up and down as well, too, depending on the choices that you make.
It's
So yeah,
definitely a journey.
yeah,
Definitely a
absolutely.
journey. We
Yeah,
joke because we always say Diane's the one that throws the spaghetti at the wall.
yeah,
She's like the big vision. She's the
yes,
creative.
yeah,
And I'm the one that cleans it up and puts it in the nice package. So
yeah.
she dreams up these big ideas all the time. Still to this day, I had one this morning. She's on the phone, blah, blah, I'm thinking, and she's learned my body language. I'm like, oh my God. Like we had to talk about it because I was starting to become feeling like I was a bit the negative Nancy in the whole situation. But I knew what went in behind the scenes to make her idea happen.
Yeah,
We had a few like discussions around it. And so
yeah.
now I'm called the neutralizer bullet. So
Okay.
just neutralize,
Yes. Yep.
so
Yep.
we
The
bring it
voice
back
of
down.
reason, perhaps. The
Yeah,
voice of
yeah,
reality. Mind you, reality can be highly overrated.
yeah.
Depends.
But it
Um,
needs both sides. It needs the
yes.
creative and it needs the
The
integrator
implementation. Yeah.
implementation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's awesome. That's a great balance to have.
yeah, it's good.
And that's, I think, part of the challenge sometimes as solopreneurs is that we don't have, like, we've got to try and do both in our brains. And that's where it's even more important to have coaches and guides and people to sort of help and be part of groups and that, yeah. So
Mm.
how has the money side, because you've got two personalities, quite different, probably, I
Mhm.
mean, your own, even though you grew up in the same household, you'll still have your own money stories. How has that kind of blended together over time, and how do you talk about, do you talk, A, do you talk about it? I'm assuming you do.
Yeah.
And how do you have those discussions?
That's a great question, and I'm so glad you asked it because it was such a big thing at the start. Because although we grew up in the same family, yeah, we're completely because of our different personalities. She's
Yes.
very much, I get the terms mixed, risk. She's happy to take all the risk.
Yeah.
She just trusts it'll work. But I see the bank accounts every day, and I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe not. So we've had a few like little coming togethers over money. But
Yeah.
when we first started our business, we actually kept our bank accounts separate
Hmm.
and we had technically our own businesses. We were together. We were branded as those two sisters, but
Yeah.
she had her ABN, I had mine, and I literally would sort of contract to her.
Yeah.
It was complicated and it went on for about 4 years, but we had
Yeah.
to do that because I didn't want, because of that exact, I didn't want family, working with
Yeah.
family and having such different money. So
Yes.
it took us for building our trust with each other for 4 years.
Yeah.
And because she'd started the business and really put herself and her family on the line for 3 years, and then I come in, we
Mm.
both agreed it shouldn't be 50-50 at first because,
Yeah.
so we did percentages and that went on for a couple of years. And eventually we both went, you know what, I think we're ready. And
Yeah.
still gives me goosebumps when we put the company together, which was
Yes.
only like a year and a half ago that we
Yeah.
actually got the proper,
That
proper,
structure.
yeah. And
Yeah.
now I'm the finance person.
Yeah.
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 And
And
she's the
then you can
CEO.
delineate the roles a little easier when you're
Yeah.
in that structure too. Bringing
Yeah.
two sort of sole traders or even two businesses
Yeah.
together, it definitely makes sense. And it's really interesting to hear that journey that you've taken, and making those decisions. I think having those milestones or decision points, and it's not like you can say, oh, when this happens, we'll do this. It's
No,
not that clear cut. Because I see clients all the time who are, they're sole traders, but their business has grown so much. It's like, I think you may need to consider
it's
a different
time.
structure. Now it's time to go talk to your accountant and have that
Yeah.
conversation. And that's one of the things I like to do is prod that. It still might not be right for them, but it's
Yeah.
just important to be thinking about it and having that kind of option in the future to go, okay, if this is what we want to keep doing, then we need to work with what we've got now. And then when time is right for both of us, we can start to create a marriage, so to speak,
It is.
of the business. So
Yes.
yeah,
And it's scary. Like I remember doing it thinking, oh my God, like I'm terrified. It's like
yeah,
buying a new house. Like there's a lot of things, costs involved, setting up companies and things,
yeah,
merging. She had a trust, I had a sole trader. How was, our back and forth. It was like a bit of a mess in the back end, but I just thought that's what we're paying the bookkeeper to clean that up because I
yes,
was still owing her. And we have retreats that were booked 8 months in advance where all the money had been paid into her bank account. And I only got my share when we ran the retreat. So our bookkeeper's been
okay,
amazing,
yeah,
but it's been really good. It's when we took off
yeah,
financially was when we put the businesses together
yeah,
because Diane made a lot of money early on. Like I'm
yeah,
talking a lot, but she wasn't structured. So she
yeah,
would get these tax bills that she would hit the deck.
yes,
She's literally, she tells us she's got a podcast. She hit the deck
yeah,
because she's like, oh my God, like she's still getting these. She is still getting tax bills from when she had no idea about
yeah.
structure.
And this is where also it really pains me to think like there's some awesome accountants out there and there's some awesome
Mm.
bookkeepers, but there's also equally ones that aren't. And I see the result of that. And also just then not just they can do the compliance, but then they've also still got to warn
Yeah.
their client that, okay, you are in a tax payable position. Are you putting money aside
Yeah.
to pay that?
Yeah.
Because one of the things I do is help with that organization and structure of
Yeah.
not the business structure, but the money kind of
Yeah.
management structure. And that's where you're like, oh, literally so many times I hear stories about huge tax bills and then having to pay them off over time.
Hmm.
And it's just, yeah, it shouldn't happen. Anyway, but as business owners, we get so passionate about the things that we're doing that we don't necessarily think about that side.
Especially if it's not your natural, like it's not Diane's natural state is to be in depth of that. But she's like,
No.
ever since I came on board, she's
Yeah.
like, we literally split our roles. I don't think she
Yes.
knows she doesn't look at the bank accounts. I tell her, like I'm the
Yeah.
CFO.
Yeah.
She does all the sales and the big picture, and we
Yeah.
just keep it very separate.
Yeah.
And it works, but we report back to each other, and we've
Yeah.
decided,
Of course.
because we got to a point where I was seeing the bank account saying, "Oh, I knew there's money coming, but it's getting tight." And I was telling her, and she said, "I can't do sales when I'm feeling like that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I need to tell you if it's getting tight because I feel it's my responsibility. So we came up with a thing that
Yeah.
unless it's actual, because I'm very much, I'm projecting like,
Yes.
we need to
Yeah.
pay, there's 10 grand in the tax account. I don't want to use that money because there's a 10 grand tax bill coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, we come up with some rules where I wasn't going to say anything unless it was actual black and white facts.
Yeah.
And she came up with we came up with the rules. She wanted something big, and just to trust me if I said no, there's
Yeah.
a reason behind it. I'm not just being, you know,
Yeah.
silly
Gosh,
about it.
this definitely the word trust has come up quite a few times,
Yeah,
which
there's a
is
lot of it.
it's very important. And I mean it can be people can like, oh, but you're a family, it's sisters, like, yeah, but it's almost, I think, harder to have that level of
Mm,
trust
mm,
within a family than
hmm.
somebody else because you've got more riding on it than just the business. You've also
Yes.
got your relationship as sisters, and then also the family dynamic as daughters of the same parents, and the aunts and uncles. Anyway, there's a lot more in it. So I think that that's very important that you've both recognized that you have to work on it.
Yeah, there's definitely trust. I don't have any honesty issues, trust. It's
Mhm.
just we have
Yeah,
to trust each other's decisions when we're in our lane and in our genius.
yeah,
I've got to trust when she says, Michelle, just trust me. This is decision is based because I can see the bigger picture. And I'm like, okay. And I
yes,
just say, trust me. I don't think that investment we can't do that right now. Maybe in 6 months. Trust me. And she's like, okay, let's do
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So
no,
it
it's
works.
yes, it's an interesting thing too. Even just unpacking that part where Diane finds it difficult to sell and promote if she's worried about the money. And there's this, I hear this so often. Oh, yourself from the outcome. Just do it. And I'm like, yes, but if the outcome means that you could pay your mortgage that month,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to do that unless you've got someone like you in the business
Mm.
who's worrying about that. But then they're naturally wired to share that concern, which then
Yes.
impacts the person who's trying to divorce themselves from the outcome, which is usually the money. And it's just, you're like, oh, and this is where mindset becomes really, really important. So understanding personalities and how we operate, but then also having some mindset strategies. How do you work from a mindset perspective on money? Because like you said, we all have our stories, and you don't have to share specifically what those
Yeah.
stories are, but just, do you have like a practice? Do you have some mantras you tell yourself? How does it play out for you?
Yeah, we had big money stories happening, and it took us a couple of years to realize
Yeah.
that, oh, hang on, because money was always seemed to be hard. Everything was hard. And then we both one day at the same time went, hang on, we both were brought up in the same family.
Yeah.
Of course, we've got the same, and we're actually feeding off each other's
Yeah.
bad, not bad, wrong beliefs. So
Yes.
yeah, we've done a lot of work around that. We've done hypnosis, so we both got hypno trained. So
Yes.
we do installing new belief systems quite regularly. We
Yeah.
set up a thing called Money Matters every day to make sure that we know what's going on and where it is. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, really working on that money can come easily
Yeah.
and you don't have to work hard, which is where the couch potato comes from.
Yeah.
It's funny because there's so many people, even multimillionaires.
Mm.
I don't want that life. When I see some of these women, I'm like, no, thank you.
No.
They're stressed to the eyeballs. And on
Yeah.
top of that, let's be completely honest, a lot of them have no profit.
No.
Like they're sprouting $2 million businesses. And I'm like, that's great, but I'm sending you a bill and you can't pay it. Keeps
Yes.
bouncing or you're not paying your invoices. There's a
Yeah.
problem there?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So,
and I think that's also a product of, why do you want money? What's the
mm,
lifestyle that you want? How do you want it
mm,
to feel? Like, my husband and I were quite intentional when we bought our house, that we didn't want to sort of overcapitalize, and also we wanted, I mean, we still have all of the things you could want. We've got air conditioning, we've got a pool, we've got, all the comforts that you could possibly want, but it's in an area that was a little bit further out, like we're Bayside in Brisbane,
mhm,
so a little bit further out, but it still works for our lifestyle. In 10 minutes I can cycle to the water. We're near the airport, like traveling. So I think there's those sort of considerations about what sort of life do you actually want. And yeah, I don't like debt. So
yep,
I'm very much whatever I need to do, I need to be able to fund it
same.
myself. So yeah, it's interesting. Um,
Mm.
these retreats that you run, can you tell us
Mm.
a little bit more about those? Because I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I love our retreats. It's probably one of both of our geniuses brought together, and
Yeah.
that's where like massive magic happens. So
Yes.
women come in one way, and a lot of they're twitching, and most people don't know each other, and then three
Yeah.
days later they walk out like different women.
Yeah.
So run different styles of retreats. We've got one called Energetics of Life, probably changing the
Hmm.
name soon, but that's for the sort of the just trying to find their purpose, not
Hmm.
quite sure. They know they're blocked, but they're not sure what's going on. And
Yeah.
we crack them open fairly deeply at that retreat.
Yeah.
And then we have an energetics a business retreat where we take
Hmm.
business women away. And we do some business stuff, but it's more the mindset behind the business.
Yeah.
So that yeah, if you're not work if you I've got a sign, is that over here? Yeah. Dreams don't work unless you do. And I always took that as unless you are working,
Yeah.
like done the self-development and everything's working, then your
Yeah.
dreams happen. So
Yeah.
yeah, same with the business. If your home life is shit and you're miserable and you're not confident and you're overweight, your business is going to show that. So
Yeah.
yeah, energetics of business is one. And we do a one called a top shelf retreat. That's a new one. So that's for
Hmm.
multi-million dollar business owners that need something and a break, but they want to be around similar level women.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
a lot of when we work on that one is, bringing it back to that. It's not money's not everything because they're
Yeah.
extreme on that end sometimes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we run about 3 or 4 retreats a year. So
Okay. Oh, lovely. Well,
mm,
we'll make sure we put the link to that in the
yeah,
show notes so people can find out more
yeah,
about it. Because yeah, it's that slowing down to speed up kind of
yeah,
concept as well.
yeah,
I've seen that coming out more and more about, just letting go, relaxing a bit. And I've leaned into that a bit more already this year, and already I'm amazed at the sort of the impact of it. It's like, I feel like I'm doing less, but more is coming, which is actually quite bizarre. Like I know it. And the bizarre thing as well is that when I was in my 20s, I leaned very much into that. I had a upbringing which was very much fear-based. So European migrants after World War II, and everything is scarce, and you have to worry about government retribution potentially if you don't agree with regimes, all that kind of stuff. And then kind of growing into who I was and having to learn who that was, and having gone through the career that I didn't particularly like, but I'm very glad I went through it, because if I hadn't gone through accounting, I wouldn't have experienced, and I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have now to be able to help people in the way that I do. So it's really interesting. Everything does happen for a reason, but we do need to have check-ins and resets, and I think going to retreats is brilliant. And I
yeah.
love the sound of yours as well, and the different purposes that they have.
Yeah. And the community, I feel, is the biggest part of retreats,
Yeah.
is bringing women together that get each other. And the feeling
Yes.
of that you can't undo. Like, that's the biggest
No.
thing I think people say about what they get out of us is
Yeah.
everyone's quite lonely in business. And just bringing women together, lonely life, but
Yeah.
bringing women together with similar values and
Yeah.
then allowing them to, I don't know, we have this ability to hold space, and people take their masks off because they feel safe. So we provide a space of safe so they
Yeah.
can be vulnerable, and
Yeah.
then they realize all the other women are the same as them, and we're all
Hmm.
going through it, and then the tears come, and then
Yeah.
everything comes out, and
Yeah.
then the new belief systems come in, and then they walk out head held high, and it's amazing. So
Yeah. Yeah, because when you think a lot of the sort of there's a lot of networking events out there, and they're fine, but you make a connection for like an hour, 2 hours, and then people say they're going to connect and then they don't. it's
yeah,
it almost feels worse than if you'd never gone in the first place.
yeah, agreed.
Whereas, yes, I've been to sort of seminars or retreats, and yours sound like they'd be even deeper in that level where you actually come away with people that you stay connected with.
Oh yeah, we have
And
people still connected after like 6 years and things, so
yeah, oh, that's so lovely.
it's amazing.
And so what does life hold for you? So you've got your business.
Hmm.
There's who you are as a person, and then you're a mum.
Hmm.
What does the year of 2025 start to look like for you?
For art, well, there's a
Well,
couple, as you
both
said,
for
there's a
you
couple of
and for the
things.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, so for the business, what my sister and I are really working on is now the residual income that is like stable. We went through a lot of years of feast and famine.
Yeah.
Like we took, was it 100 grand in a day? Yeah, 100 grand one day.
Right.
But then, in a couple of months later, it's
Yeah.
what the heck? What happened?
Yeah.
So
You
it's
constantly
feast.
have to do launches in order to make
That's
money.
right. So it's
Yeah.
always feast and famine, and now we are feast and flow is what we call it. So that's
Yes.
what we are working towards. And it's getting really, I can see it happen because I do all the figures every month. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, you can see it's up and it's now staying up, which
Yeah.
is beautiful. So that's the business
Hmm.
and really nailing our messaging and
Yeah.
what we're offering the women out there. And then in my home life is finding a partner. So it's my
Ah,
last piece of my wheel
yeah.
of life is my other half, whoever that
Yes.
may be. I'm quite happy and fulfilled where I am,
Oh,
quite
yeah.
happy, but
Yeah.
I don't want to grow old and lonely. I
Yeah.
want my person,
Yeah.
and I feel so complete that I just know that's the next thing.
Yeah.
And also I'm working on my femininity as well. So I've been very in my masculine and talk about doing
Yeah.
less. So I'm
Yes.
doing a thing called kunyin, so feminine
Hmm.
energy and motion,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is dropping me into my feminine, which is receiving, as you know, spiritually.
Yes.
Drop into receiving vibration, and all of a sudden the ease and the flow comes
Hmm.
instead of the push, drive, hustle. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
So,
is, I think I feel like the period we're in now is that is going to drive things more for the world in general.
oh yeah.
That like constantly pushing is, and that hustle and that desire to strive and grow and develop and evolve and this whole, and I'm all for the concept of like growth mindset and all of that, but I feel like it engenders a certain behavior where we constantly feel like unless we're doing something to make that happen. I was like, well, in actual fact, you don't necessarily need to. A lot of it is already in us. We just need to
Mhm.
go within and also sort of take in the information or the things that we need to, but also have our filtration system to push away the things that aren't necessarily for us right now. So it's that leaning into, yeah. And funnily enough, I was probably more that way when I was in my sort of mid to late 20s, and
Mhm.
then came striving for, looking for my purpose and getting a partner and then getting married, becoming a mom, and then everything just kind of gets lost in that, all of those different identity shifts that happen as a result. So now I'm in my sort of, I've just had a birthday recently as well, like you, and just heading into my late 40s, sorry. And it's just like, you know what, I think I'm just gonna like just relax a bit more.
Chill.
Yeah, and
Chill.
just enjoy everything that I've created and allow more to kind of come into my sphere in a way that I can help people with ease as well.
Yeah, I love that. Our fourth book was written about that, like life cycles of business,
Yeah.
life and business,
Yes.
cycles of life and business. And, how as mothers, we go through all these cycles.
Yeah.
And our next book, our fifth book, is being written at the moment, and it's Rich Lady Revolution, redefining rich. So we've got
Yes.
co-authors in that. So I'll get Di to send you some information too, because we're looking for one more
Okay.
co-author. So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
about making meaningful money, like,
Yeah.
and what does rich mean to you? So,
Yeah.
oh,
And
it's
what
exciting.
you do with it. And this is something I leaned into a lot during the pandemic periods because I was like, there were a lot of businesses. We didn't know what was going on. Small businesses in particular, people couldn't get places. So I really leaned into supporting local as much as possible. And I've stayed that way. So I literally go, it's all in my head. I don't need a spreadsheet to manage it, but I have all these different places I go to buy, my cleaning products. I buy from a family that business from Lismore, and then I buy like all sorts of things all over the place. And it's that I'm earning money, but the way I spend it needs to also be meaningful, so that I can impact life in the way that I want and create that circle and that flow. And then do it. So where are things made? How are they made? Being more intentional just in general, without overanalyzing, because I can tend to go down that path too.
Yeah.
But I love the word meaningful. It's so necessary and so relevant.
Yeah.
Thank you for. So I'm keen. When does this book come out?
So we are looking at launching in June, and the chapters are just starting to be written now.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, when it comes out, definitely it's on pre-sale at the moment. Actually, I'll give you the pre-sale link. You can put that in the in
Yes,
show notes
please.
as well,
Yeah,
because it's
please
only just
do.
came out last week, the pre-launch.
Yeah, because I love the word rich. And to me, the word rich applies into often people think of it in relation to money, but we can talk about richness in food, richness in taste, richness in life. Like it's a state of being almost in a way. It's
Mhm.
not just about dollars in a bank account because anybody can have money in a bank account. It's then what you do with it as well that makes you rich.
That's spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on. It's like
Ah.
we're like finishing each other's sentences. It's amazing.
It
And,
is.
and I think I came on thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm good for this podcast or not. I don't know. We all have our doubts sometimes. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I don't know enough about investments or something.
No, it's not about that at all. No. And this is the other thing too. Like we were sort of talking a little bit about this before I hit record. Like the concept of investing, like I get a lot of women in particular, like, oh, I don't know anything about investing and I'm scared I'll make the wrong choice and that I'll lose money. And I was like, well, again, it comes down to what do you want? Like I've gone down the path of I went to share investing courses and property development courses and actually started to go down the path of doing a property development. And then when I dig into it, I was like, this, you know what? I actually like ease and knowing just enough to be
Yeah.
able to do what I need to do, how I want to do it. I don't want to be a day trader. My cousin was
No.
a day trader and he was constantly stressed, lack
Mm.
of sleep because he was awake at all hours of the night with all the various markets and whatever. And I
No.
don't know if he actually even really made that much money after it all. So I'm like, you know what? This is where we need to figure out what it means. And rather than doing nothing because we're scared, just ask some questions, do a
Yeah.
bit of research, and yeah, and reach out. There's so many people who can give you their opinions. No one's short on opinions, but then take it all in and then figure out what feels right. That intuition piece is extremely
Yeah.
important.
I've got a really good book that we're reading at the moment. Your listeners might like. It's called Strong Money Australia. He
Okay.
speaks, oh my God, he speaks our language. It's by Dave Gow. We're actually going to
Okay.
get him on our podcast. He's
What's the
amazing.
name?
Oh, he retired himself at 27, but didn't come from money. He was a factory worker.
Yeah.
And he just realized he just worked it all out. He did property investment first and then
Mm.
made enough and then went, oh, okay, no shares. And just the way he speaks to the beginner, but he
Yes.
speaks about alignment, about values, about consumerism, about
Yeah.
just making what you need, long-term investment, compounding, how
Yes.
it's exactly what all that stuff you just said. He just puts it in this amazing way.
Yeah.
The audio, when I started listening, I was like, oh my God, he sounds like he's about 17.
Yeah.
He just had this really young voice and he's Aussie.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, you just feel really aligned with him.
Yeah, and
So,
that's really I'm gonna I haven't heard of that book, so I'm gonna have
mm,
a look into
it's
it. But
incredible.
yeah, that's awesome. Because yeah, I find there is difference in cultures as well. Like I read a lot of money books come out of the US. We
Yeah.
have a very different culture in general, and also how the relationship we have with money, plus the structures that we have. Like
Yeah.
they have our superannuation is different to their 401k. There's
Yes.
different ways employers have to function with things. So it's just being informed enough to know what you need to know,
Mhm.
to ask the right questions or to make sure that you put things in the right spots, and having somebody who simplifies it. And then that's why I called my business Money Made Simple, because I don't like complexity. It doesn't need to be complex.
No.
Money's actually pretty simple and pretty boring. Once you get it going, all you need to do is just review the numbers and then adjust the rest of your life for anything that changes or
Yeah.
something that comes up that you want. But
That's
yeah,
what he
I
says. That's what he says. You'll love it. You're going to love this
yeah,
book.
I'm
And
gonna
yeah, and
look
when
forward
when
to
we
it.
interview him on our podcast, I'll let you know when it
Yes.
comes out. We're just ballsy. We just messaged him and said, "Oh, we love your book," and he's like, "Oh, we'd love to have you on our podcast."
Yes,
But yeah,
absolutely.
because you speak our language. He talks about alignment. He talks about
Yeah,
values,
nice.
meaningful money and fulfillment and all the stuff. Like you said, not overcapitalizing on a house, but
Yeah.
having all the comforts.
Yes,
So
that's
yeah,
it.
and it's all Australia based. That's exactly why I loved it. It talks about
Yeah,
your super,
yeah,
how our percentages and he talks about overseas investing versus national and how to do it simply
yeah,
with as
yeah.
little work as
And
possible.
and that's the thing too. We have access to so much more now than we ever did. Like
Mm.
between micro investing, ETFs, like exchange
Yeah.
traded funds, we can get access to the US markets,
Yep.
which generally do tend to make more than the Australian ones do. Although, anyway, I won't get into too much of the
Yeah.
technicality of it, but there, because I could go on and on. But it's yeah, it's fantastic to know that. And then we can share this information with our kids as well.
Yes. I already
That's
am. They're
how
listening to it in the car. They know
yeah.
all about it.
Yeah, well, my daughter constantly asks me about investing and it's like, how much money do I have and how much can I, if I make? So she likes earning money. The investing concept is kind of there. She's like, so if I buy part of a company, I get some of their profit because we spoke about profit because she was selling at the markets last year, some necklaces that she makes. and she thought she'd get all the money back that she was selling it for. I was like, no, no, no. Mama, Bank of Mama, had to pay for the materials that you made your necklaces with. So I'm going to, this is why we priced it this way. So even when I was doing the pricing with her, she didn't get the concept of profit. As soon as it meant she got less back from the sale price, then she got it. So I was like, yay, learning through, practicality. But now, so she starts at I mean, she's 9 now. So she was 8 when this started. And I've been talking to her about money, and she hears me do my videos and things as well. But yeah, I think the more educated and informed we become, the better chance we have of making sure our kids don't miss out on things and don't get a credit card at the age of 17, which is what happened. Well, I didn't get one because I didn't like them, but that was the message we got. We had these Dolomite accounts, which meant that the bank got free reign to market credit cards to us as soon as we turned of age. I was like, that's not the message we want our kids to get.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, that's good on you. Like, that's amazing. Yeah,
So,
start them
so
early.
yes. So we've
I'm
got
gonna
your
say,
book coming out. You've got
yeah.
retreats, some really exciting work that you're doing. I'm really so appreciative that we got connected.
Yes, it was perfect timing. It's always trust. The right people come together at the right time
That's it.
to create some magic. So for sure.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there, and we'll put all the information to
Mhm.
find out more about those two sisters
Yep.
and the events and exciting things you've got coming up in the show notes.
Yep.
And yeah, well, I'm looking forward to connecting to you again and maybe seeing you tomorrow at a networking function.
Yes, sounds amazing. I'll see you then.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. And yeah, if you have any questions, please forward them through. And yeah, I'll see you next week.